Welcome back to Love and Hard Money. I'm Brian. 150. That's the number, not a metaphor, an actual finding. In the 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar looked at primate brains, the size of the neocortex specifically, and found a straight line. The bigger the brain, the bigger the social group the animal could track. Who's an ally? Who owes who? Who can you trust and who you can't? He ran the numbers for humans. 150. That's it. That's the ceiling of how many people you can hold in your head as real relationships. Not names, not faces, but people whose loyalty you can actually gauge, whose word actually means something to you. Go past that number and you're not tracking people anymore. You're tracking categories, strangers wearing name tags. Here's the problem. Civilization requires more than 150 people. A city requires more. A supply chain requires more. The device you're listening to this on touched hands, human and otherwise, on 5 continents before it reached you. None of those hands know your name. Most of them will never know you exist. So here's the actual question underneath everything else we're going to talk about today. How do strangers cooperate? Not friends, not family, not tribe, strangers. The ones outside the 150. The ones your brain was never built to track. How do they trust each other enough to build something together? The answer is older than any of us, and it's simpler than you think. Money. Not money like it's some clever invention a king dreamed up to make taxes easier. Money as technology, in the real sense of the word. A tool that extends a human capacity past its natural limit, the same way a lever extends your arm or a wheel extends your legs. Dunbar's number is the limit of trust running on biology alone. Money is what lets trust run on something else. Think about what actually happens in a trade. I don't know you. I have no way to verify your character, your history, whether you keep your word. Normally, that's where cooperation stops. That's the wall Dunbar's number puts up. But if you hand me something that everyone agrees holds value, something I can trust, independent of trusting you, the wall comes down. I don't need to know you. I need to know the money is real. That's the whole trick. That's the entire technology. Money is a way of encoding trust into an object, so the object can travel to places your reputation never could. And once that trick works, everything changes. You're no longer limited to 150 people you can personally vouch for. You can cooperate with a farmer in a province you've never visited, a shipbuilder in a country whose language you don't speak, a stranger 3 generations from now who inherits the value you stored today. Money doesn't just grease trade. It's the technology that let human cooperation escape the size of the tribe. Every great leap in civilization, cities, trade routes, universities, cathedrals that took 100 years to build, every one of those required cooperation at a scale biology never prepared us for. Money is how we got there. Not democracy, not language, money. Because money is what lets a stranger's promise mean something. So here's the thesis of this whole episode. If money is the technology that scales human cooperation past Dunbar's number, then the quality of the money determines the quality of the civilization you can build with it. Good money? Honestly kept? You get Rome's roads, the Hanseatic League, the Renaissance. Corrupted money? Debased, dishonest, manipulated, and the whole structure it was built to hold up starts to rot from the foundation, no matter how advanced the tools sitting on top of it are. Which brings us to the uncomfortable part. Our money is broken. Here's the part almost nobody gets taught, and it's the whole hinge of this episode. Money isn't just a medium of exchange. It's a signal. When I earn money and hold on to it, I'm sending a message forward in time to my future self, to my kids, to a stranger I haven't met. The message is, this effort was real, and it's still worth something. Debasement? breaks that signal. Not bends it, breaks it. Every time a currency is inflated, new units created out of nothing dropped into an economy that didn't grow to match it. Every dollar already in existence gets quietly, invisibly worth less. Nobody votes on it. Nobody signs off on it person to person. It just happens upstream, and the effect rolls downhill onto everyone holding the currency, especially the people with the least power to do anything about it. That's not a side effect. That's the entire function. Inflation is a tax that never has to pass a vote. And if that's true, if the most consequential financial decision made about your life every single year happens without your consent, without your ballot, without anyone even asking, then something else has to be true too. It means the democracy we've been told we have is, at best, a partial truth. We vote for representatives. We don't vote on the money. And the money is the thing that actually decides how much of your life's work you get to keep. All the social issues that divide us are downstream of that. And here's why that matters for everything we just talked about. Dunbar, trust, strangers cooperating at scale. If money is the technology that lets a stranger's promise mean something across distance and time, debasement is what happens when the promise stops being honest. Save for 10 years, and the money you saved buys less than when you started. The message got corrupted in transit, not because you did anything wrong, because the signal itself was tampered with, quietly, by whoever controls the printing press. Think about what that does to a civilization over time. Not overnight. Nobody feels a single year of 4% debasement. But compound that over a generation. Compound it over 3 generations. People stop trusting the long game. They stop building things that take decades to pay off. Cathedrals, universities, institutions meant to outlast them. Because the money itself won't hold its value long enough to make the wait worth it. You get short-termism. You get speculation instead of stewardship. You get a civilization optimized for right now, because right now is the only horizon the money can be trusted across. That's not a bug in the monetary system. That's what the monetary system does when its core promise, this store of value will hold, is broken at the root. We didn't lose the technology that let strangers cooperate at scale. We corrupted it. And a corrupted signal doesn't just fail quietly. It drags everything built on top of it down with it. So the question isn't whether we need a money that scales trust past 150 people. We already answered that question 10,000 years ago. The question is, can we make that signal honest again? So if the technology that scales trust past 150 people got corrupted, the fix isn't to abandon the technology. It's to rebuild it honestly. That's what Bitcoin actually is. Not a speculative asset, not a tech stock with extra steps. A rebuild of the signal from the foundation up. And when you're forced to rebuild something, you can apply the lessons of the past and the tools of the present to make it even more resilient than the original. 21 million. That's the whole design constraint. And it's not a marketing number. It's an engineering decision. No committee can vote to create more. No emergency meeting, no war, no election can quietly stretch the supply to bail someone out. For the first time since money was invented, the promise a currency makes, this will hold value, is enforced by mathematics instead of by the restraint of whoever is currently in charge. Restraint was always the weak point. Every hard money system in history, gold, silver, seashells, salt, eventually met a ruler desperate enough or a government clever enough to debase it anyway. Clip the coins, mix in cheaper metal, leave the gold standard temporarily, and then never go back. The math wasn't the problem. The people holding the math were. Bitcoin doesn't ask anyone to be restrained. It doesn't need a virtuous king or an honest central bank. It removes the discretion entirely. Nobody's in the room where the decision gets made because there is no room. There's just the protocol, running the same way on thousands of machines, agreeing with each other, refusing to be talked into an exception. And here's the part that connects straight back to Dunbar. Remember the original problem? Strangers can't cooperate past 150 people without something that lets them trust each other without personally knowing each other? Bitcoin does that better than anything that's ever existed. I don't need to trust the person on the other side of a transaction. I don't need to trust a bank standing between us. I don't even need to trust the country either of us lives in. I need to trust the math, and the math doesn't lie, doesn't play favorites, doesn't have a bad year and reach for the printing press. That's a stranger's promise made completely verifiable at planetary scale for the first time in human history. Gold did this imperfectly. It was honest, but it was heavy, hard to move, hard to verify, easy to centralize into vaults that governments eventually captured. Bitcoin keeps gold's honesty and drops the weight. It's the first money that is both scarce and instantly portable to anyone, anywhere, without asking permission. Which means the real question isn't whether we can reboot the technology that scales human cooperation. We already have. It's running right now. The question is what we build with it. Here's a question worth sitting with. What do you call it when you extend trust to someone you'll never meet? We don't usually have a word for that. We have words for how we treat people close to us, family, friends, neighbors. But money, honest money, is how you treat a stranger as if they were someone whose word mattered to you. You extend them value. You trust the exchange will hold. You cooperate with someone outside the 150, and you do it in good faith. There's an old word for extending yourself towards someone outside of your tribe, expecting nothing back but good faith in return. Love. Not romantic love. Not even the love you have for your family, though it's built from the same material. The kind of love that shows up as trust extended past the point it's owed, to a stranger, on the belief that the exchange between you can be honest. That's what this whole show has been circling since episode 1. How do you love a stranger? Not how do you feel affection for someone you've never met? How do you build systems that let you treat a stranger the way you'd want to be treated at a scale no tribe was ever built to handle? The answer, 10,000 years running, has been give them honest money and let the exchange do the rest. So, what happens when the money is honest again, and you pair it with everything we've built since? Look what happened the last time civilization got a serious upgrade in monetary honesty. Renaissance Europe wasn't running on some undiscovered technology. It was running on gold and silver, hard money flowing back into Europe through trade, through the Mediterranean, through banking families in Florence who figured out how to move that honest money at scale no one had managed before. And on top of that foundation, cathedrals that took 100 years to finish because the builders trusted the value would still be there in 100 years. Universities, double-entry bookkeeping, art commissioned to outlast the artist, an explosion of long-horizon thinking because for the first time in a while, the money could be trusted across a long horizon. Gold did that. Gold. Heavy, slow, hard to verify, easy to steal, and still, it built the Renaissance. Fiat built strip malls and storage units. Now, ask the real question. If gold, imperfect, immobile, centralizable, gold was enough to spark that, what does honest money that moves at the speed of the internet, verifiable by anyone, seizable by no one, due to a civilization that already has the rest of the tools. We're not waiting on the printing press or ocean-crossing ships anymore. We already have instant global communications. We already have manufacturing that can be coordinated across a dozen countries in real time. We already have the ability to design, prototype, and produce almost anything, almost anywhere. The one piece that was still broken, the signal, the honest measuring stick, the technology that lets strangers trust each other, that's the piece Bitcoin repairs. So picture it. Long horizon capital again. People building things meant to outlast them, because the money will actually still be worth something when it's done. Cathedrals again, whatever their modern form turns out to be. Infrastructure, research, institutions built on decade-long timelines, because decade-long trust is possible again. Trade with strangers on the other side of the planet settled in seconds, with more certainty than a handshake with your neighbor ever gave you. Entire regions that were locked out of the old financial system, no correspondent bank, no reliable currency, no access to capital, suddenly plugged straight into the same honest global ledger as everyone else. No permission required. That's not utopian. That's just what happens when you fix the signal and let the civilization that's been waiting catch up to it. Gold built the Renaissance with one hand tied behind its back. Bitcoin has both hands free. But here's the part that should make you uncomfortable, because it's true. Nobody's going to hand back the printing press willingly. Every incumbent standing between you and that future has the same reason to resist it. Not because they think you're wrong, but because they were doing very well under the old fiat. Central banks that derive their entire relevance from controlling the money supply, governments that fund war and welfare with a tax nobody has to vote on, financial institutions that exist as toll booths on a system deliberately built to be too complicated for you to bypass them. None of that is a conspiracy in the cartoon sense. Nobody's twirling a mustache in the basement. It's simpler and more durable than that. It's just incentive. People defend the system that feeds them. They always have. So the fight isn't going to look like a battle. It's going to look like friction. Regulation that arrives dressed up as consumer protection, but functions as a moat. Custodial products that let you own Bitcoin while someone else holds the keys. And the keys are the whole point. Narratives seeded to keep you confused or scared, or convinced this is a young man's speculation and not a civilizational reset. The old signal doesn't have to beat the new one in an honest fight. It just has to keep you from ever fully switching over. So how do we win? Not by winning an argument. Arguments don't move incumbents. Incentives do. And the incentive structure only flips once enough people quietly stop participating in the old lie. So, you hold your own keys. You transact in it, not just speculate on it. You teach your kids what 150 means, and why the money has to be honest for cooperation to scale past it. You build cathedrals, businesses, institutions, whatever your version of long horizon trust looks like, on a foundation you actually believe will hold. That's it. That's the whole strategy. Not a revolution, a refusal multiplied by everyone doing it at once. 150. That's where biology stops trusting on its own. Everything past that number, every stranger you've ever traded with, cooperated with, built something alongside, required a technology, something that let a promise travel further than your own reputation could carry it. We corrupted that technology. We're rebuilding it now. And underneath all of it, the math, the supply cap, the ledger no one controls, is the same question this whole show keeps circling back to. How do you love a stranger? You give them your honesty. You give them a promise that holds. You give them money that doesn't lie, and you insist that they show you the same respect. That's the whole project. That's love and hard money.